Why is it highlighted?
Exactly. Why? Why is it suddenly? Why does it suddenly have a different coloration, specifically on the things that you took? This is usually the time where we end up discussing something about adventuring hooks and such. It seems like from the last couple episodes, and I heard you might have one for me today. You wanted to flesh out.
I had an idea. This is same kind of vibes. I have ideas that are similar occasionally, but very different at the same time.
Okay.
So last time, what was it? We body snatched.
We did some doppelgangings.
We doppelganged the party. So I had an idea for this time. Your party goes off on an adventure. It doesn't really matter how you start, but they're either coming back from an adventure or they're starting off on the road and they get to a town.
Okay.
Small town.
Yep.
And it's weird because it's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is it quiet, it's empty. The town is actually completely empty.
Okay.
Ghost town, kind of. But not run down. Just a normal looking town, but no one's home. No one's around. No one's coming out. Can't find anyone. If you go in houses, absolutely nobody is there. There might be food on the table, like people were just about to sit down to have a hot meal. And suddenly are not there anymore.
And no remnants of people around. Like,
No.
besides that. But like all of a sudden, in the middle of doing stuff, everyone just up and disappeared.
Yeah. I mean, you might find a broom just kind of on its side somewhere, or standing up if you got one of those magic brooms that stands up.
Oh,
vertically.
I love those, yeah. Sorcerer's Apprentice style, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you come across this town and it's empty.
Yep.
Nobody's there. It's kind of weird. Mm-hmm. You're not sure if this is normal. Maybe they all went to church at the same time in another town. That's the premise of it, is you come across just a ghost town, essentially, at this point.
Now what do we do? I mean, for my party, basically, loot everything and leave. You just loot everything and you leave.
Well, so you could absolutely. There's no one there to stop you. There's no security or militia or police force of any kind. Mm-hmm. You could absolutely ransack and loot the whole town.
Yeah.
But are you also wondering why there's no one here? Why are there plates on the table with a meal that looks like it's still fresh?
No.
So in this case, what do you do? You're leading the party, and what are you guys going to do?
Okay, let's assume that I'm not playing one of my characters that just doesn't care. I'll play. Let's imagine for a second I'm Snowball. So I'm an investigator, and I actually give a damn about this. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the houses that actually have the food on the table, especially where it looks like they were just there, that they were lived in far more. That they're not actually shut down, that they're currently operating. And it's at this point that I'm going to start investigating. And I'm going to be looking for clues as to any movement that the people would do, especially if there's any kind of footprints or fingerprints or something that are there that suggest where they might have gone, or if they were just vanished immediately from the place that they were standing. Maybe where the dust has settled. Depending on how long. And if there is actually dust around, which would suggest how long maybe they've been gone.
Cool. Those are all valid. So you're looking for signs of a scuffle, or forced entry, or forced removal.
Right. And movement. Where would people have been in the space trying to accomplish, basically a framework of, and a timeline of where people were, spacing them out, figuring out distances, and all of that, right up until the point where I have no data, possibly suggesting that they are at that point no longer there. Okay. So that's my first thought of actually investigating this out. Second thing I would probably do is see if anybody has journals or diaries around and what the last entries were.
Sure. Going through people's personal belongings, but they're not there to stop you. Why not?
So no one's there. They might be in danger. I don't know.
And I I have no idea. You could definitely, if this is what you're planning, I would say actually have a couple people that have journals that go back a week or two.
Oh, sure.
You don't necessarily have to flesh them out fully, but, got a couple entries from the last couple of days. Maybe even one from the day you're on.
Oh, sure. Here's another thing that I would probably do. I'm assuming that there might be taverns or bars or restaurants or something in this town. Some kind of an industry.
Sure.
Okay, so I would probably go over there at this point, and one, see if there was a guest registry or something to that effect, what the last entries were, who actually checked in last. Hotels or inns would be a good place to look at this too. But then also to look at what their stocks are, and in the restaurants or in the taverns and stuff. Are they fully stocked? Is the food gone? Has it been ransacked? Have people taken it? Is it going bad? Is it spoiling? Is it fresh?
Right.
Like, that kind of thing. That would be the next thing.
So let's say this is a really small town, like a hamlet. This is like a small village. There might be one tavern in town.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've come across this completely deserted town. All the food seems to still be fresh.
Okay. Is there a smithy of some sort in town? Maybe like a blacksmith shop or something?
My thought was, one thing the party's gonna eventually do is probably move on. Maybe they're not interested in this town.
Right.
Maybe they're like, there's nothing here for us. Let's just go.
Oh, it's the first characters I was talking about. It's like Rembrandt or Max would have done. It would have just moved on. Yeah.
So let's say they went, okay, let's check a few things, maybe steal a few things. Let's move on. Let's go. We're gone.
Rembrandt would have just been randomly picking stuff up. Like, ooh, this looks fun. So, yeah.
So you move on.
Okay.
You get to a bigger town. Maybe you get to a city.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. So now I'm trying to figure out a correlation between the first town and then the larger town and make note if I was a forward-thinking person. So if I am the investigators in this case, members of the Hoof and Horn Detective Agency or something, I would have already investigated that first town, and then I would have probably been making notes on the road out of that town to see if I could figure out if anyone had gone this route, after they left town. If there's any, horseshoes, tracks or anything like that. Do a lot of your basic tracking skill. However, if I didn't really care, then I haven't picked up any of that information. But 2 towns now, this feels like a pattern. There's something that's actually
this one's a
going
bigger
on.
town. There should be hundreds of people here.
Right.
Thousands of people, maybe.
Now, there's a lot of rogues, though, at this point that are just kind of like going, more loot for me!
Are there a lot of rogues? You haven't seen anyone in 2 towns.
Well, there's a lot of player character rogues that would think, oh, just more loot for me.
Even more interesting, when's the last time you've seen a creature?
Oh, okay.
Any creature.
Yeah.
A monster.
Yeah. So there's no life whatsoever at this point. I can't hear birds. No cats.
Quiet.
No. Yeah. Nothing that I can see. No bugs. If I look down, would I see bugs?
I mean, are you gonna go investigate an anthill like Gandalf?
Well, I'm gonna
spend 3 chapters of a book
looking at ants.
Looking at anthills.
No, but I at that point I probably would be trying to look to see if I'm actually seeing any bugs even at that point, or anything.
See, here's the thing. I didn't fully go into every detail, but this is the premise. I mean, you could still have insects, you could still have bugs, because
sure,
whatever. Maybe it's just the intelligent life is gone.
Okay.
Maybe there's not rats or anything, so that a town with no people, let's just infest it with rats. Maybe then you think it's a rat plague. Yeah. And we don't want people thinking it's a rat plague. That's a false flag. Or maybe we do.
That's just Plague Tale.
Yeah, that's just a different thing.
That's just Plague Tale.
So the premise for this hook is you want to make it feel very liminal, which is what we were talking about before the show, a little bit about liminal spaces. But empty spaces. Not the textbook definition of liminal space. Doesn't have to be a transitional space. But you've come across a town. It should be bustling with life. There's nobody there. You paint it to be empty. People have just vanished for some reason. And so either you can investigate it and you don't really find anything going on, so you move on to the next town.
Right.
You know,
Right.
there's nothing here to really go on. All right, maybe
Sure.
they're just gone. Next town, but it's the same thing.
Right.
And where there should be even more people, it is still barren, empty. There's no one around. There's nothing looks out of place. It looks like people were just here before you got here.
Can I recall when the last time was that I saw a person in general?
Yeah, your party probably.
Right, but outside of my party, like what would have been the last time I would have seen an NPC in
It
this?
depends on what you have going on before this happens, honestly.
God.
But that's the whole premise of the hook I had, was just kind of empty towns. For
Empty
some reason,
towns.
something has happened, or you guys might have caused it, or there could be a number of different reasons, but I kind of wanted to be like, hey, here's an idea for an adventure.
Yeah.
It's like, even better than that is it is roleplay heavy, if you like that, and there's no monsters unless you want to add monsters.
Yeah.
And I think it's more fun and more creepy with no monsters.
Mm.
Until maybe you've come to, like, maybe you pull an Adventure Time with the reindeer.
Okay.
Or the deer. Which is, the deer had captured all the candy people and, like, stuck them in the sewer.
Right.
While Jake had a concussion and Finn was comatose for like a month.
Oh, good.
So this deer took all the candy people and stuck them to the wall, and the Land of Ooh was just empty. No one was there. Very, very weird.
Great.
That episode was creepy.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the deer.
Yeah, one idea that I had, if you wanted to play around with this. So, like, that first town that you go to, whether the party understands it or not, it's devoid of life altogether. Except, there's, like, one raven. Just kind of around. You get to the next town, completely devoid of life. But there's that one raven. We don't know if it's the same one. But there's just the one. None other. No other birds, nothing like that. Just tooling around town. You know, I have this idea of, like, what if there was just, like, one cat? Just like one entity in this entire town that was just, like, around, just hanging out.
My thought just now while you said that was, what if all the people in town actually just got turned into a swarm of bees?
Yeah! What if, like, everybody in town just got turned into cats? Now you have a cat town. Cat Town, USA.
I mean, then you just have a lot of cats, and that's weird on its own.
Yeah, you become the cat lady. And that's a character
cat
that you
attack.
can play. Yes. Here's another possibility to kind of like play around with this. What if you go to that first town and it's empty, like you said, same thing, completely empty, devoid. You move on and you get to another town, but it's the same town.
Oh? The exact same town?
It's the exact same town. Laid out exactly the same. The food is the same on the tables. Every detail you explored in the first town, exactly the same in the second town.
In that case, I would go, wait, didn't we just
Yeah.
come from that way? Weren't we just here? All right, let's leave the way we, go through again. Don't go back the way you came. And I assume the next town you get to is the same town.
Yeah. Now here's two possibilities that I think are interesting. So, like we said, there's probably the possibility that you actually, like, looted some stuff in that first town. So, I have this thought of you going to say, oh, I'm going to go back to those places where I looted, and either the stuff that you've already taken, there's another version of it there, or it's not there. Whatever you took is not there now.
Or the third option is it's there, but what you took is not in your bag.
Oh, yeah, that's even better. That's even better.
His history abhors a paradox.
That's true.
As Cain said that one time.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, here's another idea, is that the stuff is still in your bag, but whatever you stole, that object in the next town has a glow around it that wasn't there before. Like it's highlighted in a color that you didn't have before. And only the stuff that you took.
Why is it highlighted?
Exactly. Why? Why is it suddenly? Why does it suddenly have a different coloration, specifically on the things that you took, which would suggest that the new town is a new town, but is also reacting
Same
to
town.
what you did in the first town.
Alright then.
Is reacting to what you did in the first town. Then you get to the next town. If you took that, like I take a sword and a shield in the first town, and I get to the next town, and they've got like a yellow tint to them, and only those two objects. And
That means they're rare.
that means they're rare. Exactly. I found the rare
And then I
version.
take those ones. I change the old ones out for these ones.
Exactly. Then you get to the next town though, and they're red. They've got a red tint to them.
Just keep doing it.
Or, and this is the fun part, you take just the sword, you leave the shield, you get to the next town, the shield is still yellow, but the sword is red. Like it knows, as you're going from town to town, what alterations you have made from the previous
I'm gonna
town.
pull a Soul Reaver here, and I'm gonna smash the sword I have against the sword that's still there and see if it creates a paradox.
Yeah. And then, when you get to the next town, you're back to the first town.
Yeah.
If you create a paradox.
I think there's a bunch of ideas you could go with from here.
Sure.
Just in general, depending how you want to do it. I just think it'd be an interesting way to do that and have an interesting, like, usually when you go into a town, there's a lot of colorful characters.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff you can do in town. So I think throwing that into throwing a wrench into that and being like, yeah, the town is actually empty.
Yeah.
Having that be a center around a mystery or some kind of roleplay or shenanigans could be a lot of fun, even if like just for a one-off, or it could be part of a greater mystery.
Yeah.
The thing I was thinking is that you wouldn't have found any people, but you also don't find any monsters, so that it's not like a combat thing.
You want another thing that would be really interesting, like aesthetically, like just from atmosphere, is that we do the thing where you have the first town, and then the second town is exactly the same. The only thing is that everything is 1 inch to the left.
There you go.
From the first town. Yeah. You get, and if you keep going and you find other like duplicate towns, every single time it's 1 inch to the left from the previous town in every single one of the houses until you get to towns where the tables are like embedded into the staircase because they've gone too far to the left. They've moved over enough inches.
Yeah, you've got a chair that's halfway through a doorway, but like embedded in the wall.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's
Here's
good.
your adventure hook. Let us know what you think. What would you do in this situation to make this interesting or terrifying or maybe just kind of weird?
We can call it Gandalf's Angry Inch. Because it inches and it makes you angry.